The similar struggles, I mean, you see like shared conditions, like, you know, poverty everywhere we go in the world, no matter where we are as African people, you know, we're the poorest people. That's a shared, similar struggle that we have to deal with, whether it's on the continent, in Europe, and the Caribbean, in the United States, in South America, anywhere in the world you see African people. So it may manifest like different, you know, impediments to progress may manifest themselves in different ways, and people may struggle in different ways, but as African people, it really started from, you know, the impact of, you know, the imperialist colonial powers coming in there and dispersing us all over the world for their benefit and not for ours. So, you know, once we understand that as African people, because there weren't different countries when we started out, there were different peoples, but in terms of, you know, countries and, you know, somebody being a Nigerian or African American or Black Brit, these are like imposed ideas of what we are. So similarly, you know, we have to unite how we put ourselves together and have a unified strategy to organize ourselves, whether it's here or any other parts of the world.
And I think that, I mean, to just even be a little bit more specific, I think that some of the race wars that are happening in North Africa with the eradication of black people, especially in Libya, is one that happens in America under the name of human rights and the immigration debate, right? Like, that is something that's very tangible, right? When we see Arabs encroaching on black African land, it's like, well, shit, damn. And you telling us it's a good thing because y'all gonna build a nation. I don't know what to tell you when white man come down my block with a little radar gun and shit. It was like, he's actually measuring from block to block to be able to redo the neighborhood for urban planning, right? Like, he grade gentrify the shit out of my neighborhood. Why don't I feel like that's the same thing when NATO comes in to Libya and be like, yo, whole time, y'all stand over here, you don't do this shit, and we bringing these people in, mercenaries, holding down by gunpoint. Because when the cops sit us down on the curb, I feel like the same shit. Or when I look at what they call the Arab Spring, which was North Africa anyway, and they talk about uprisings, how can I not see that's my same man saying fuck the police, right? How could I not see that, like, when Shorty's wilding on top and it's like, this lady named Maggie Mufo, right? She was North African, she set herself on fire in front of the people. And I was like, damn, really? Shit. And I think back to be like, do I really gotta set myself on fire? Right? I can wear my arsenal, my white tee, blue jeans and shit. I'm just as noticeable on fire as she was.
The most similar one is the idea of colonization. I think we can easily understand the idea of colonization in Africa. You think about India and Britain and Spain and how they came into Africa, colonized the country, gave them their language, gave them their religion, and gave them their government systems. And I think people are accepting of that when they think of colonialism. But they don't think of colonialism as it happens to Africans here in America. The way the inner city is constructed, the way our public education system is structured, black people here are colonized in the same way. Given a language, given a religion, given a governance system, and are committed to maintaining that on behalf of the state, something that they don't own. So the idea of colonization happens in the exact same ways in both places. I think some of the differences is the land issue. The idea that being colonized on your own continent means you have a war to fight right then and there. Excuse me, I'm gonna get my land back. This is where I come from. This is my stuff. And we have a culture and a people that is tied to this. We can go back and trace that. Just because you were a point of interruption in our historical memory doesn't mean that we can't go back. I don't want to say erase, but address where you came in. I think the difference here in the United States, we think about our challenge being brought here. This isn't our land. You know, we got to talk about the indigenous people and how they've been wiped out, the genocide of them. But we also have to talk about, we have a mission trip, meaning we need to go back to where we come from and build that bridge back. And so I think in terms of understanding the global struggle, we have to understand that we are colonized wherever we are, whether we are on the continent or outside the continent. But we also have to recognize that the struggle on the continent is different than the struggle off the continent, because we don't have any claims to this place. Even though some people might feel tied to it, oh, we built this country, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's a very short historical note. If we go back 500 years, yeah, this is where we entered this picture, but we have a relationship to this continent that goes back tens of thousands of years. So understanding the difference between that and where we need to return to in that true Sankofa moment is really the difference between what's happening on the continent and what's happening in the global issue.
I think poverty, when you really break down what poverty is, it's a spiritual castration And I constantly name the same thing: spirituality, education, politics, and economics, and military force. I got to say that as well. Black people at home and abroad, we don't have no sort of connection to who we are, and it's crazy because even in Africa they got big billboards of white Jesus, huge billboards of white Jesus, promoting the culture of Europeans. So I mean, you can see so many, from the hair straightening, from the self-hatred avenue, you can see a lot of it, from the spiritual misguidance, you can see tons of that in Africa. They even got McDonald's in Africa, you know what I'm saying? It's one of the richest masses of land where fruits and vegetables grow so freely, but they got a McDonald's over there. Colonization is one of the issues that you see between Africa and here in America. A horrible economy is what you see there and here in America. I remember I was talking to my brother-in-law. He just went to Africa not that long ago, a few months ago. Oh, okay. And he was pretty much he had some footage of this dude who was working at like a steel mill for like $2 a day. And dude was so in debt. He was always in debt when it came time to pay the rent, because he had to go to the local church to get a loan from them. But because he was getting paid so much, he would never be able to fully pay these loans back. So essentially he's forever in debt. So, when you look at it on that level, man, it's the same thing that's going here. College loans putting us forever in debt. Payday loans and all of this kind of advanced money payment loans is putting us all in debt. It's a serious mental manipulation that's going on in the situation. I mean, you can see them in the clubs here, shaking their thing. You see them in the clubs in Africa doing the same exact thing. So, I mean, it's a global systematic oppression. Global systematic oppression is what links the struggles of Africa and America.
Because the fortification ain't there. They tell you, these same people tell you, I love myself, right? I love my weave. I love, my press-on nails. I love these little eyebrows I brought at the 99-cent store. I love these fat-ass earrings that y'all think was cool with my name in them and shit. Like, I love them. Oh, don't think I'm sexist, because the men go through this shit too. Like, oh, I love my waves that I chopped all off my hair for and shit, outlined in the same shit that they said I should have. Oh, I love my Air Force One gym set. I love my polo t-shirt. Right? Like, it's like, if the question was how icy your low is, you'll have an answer. But if the question is how close I can get with the manipulation that happens in Africa, you'll be like, what the fuck is manipulation? And you're like, oh, where's Africa? Some niggas think it's a fucking country. It's like, yes, that dissonance that happened, we must seek to correct it in an active way, right? Fanon says each generation has their own burden. You either accept it or not. I think that if we ever are thinking about how to have relationships or to even just feel as one with people who are on the continent of Africa, then I think some of the first steps is just to be like, look, I am, and then I'll learn how to walk otherwise, right? Because identifying with conflicts only does one thing. It's like some people be like, oh, that shit be sad. I don't really know what to do all that sad shit. And I'd be like, yo, it's sad because they make it sad. It's sad because you ain't do shit about it to make it happy, right? Like, it's sad because if we sat and wanted to be joyous about anything, it'll only be because we're here to fight for the next day. Everything else is a monumentalizing notion of what kept us down in the first place, what keeps us in the social, position now.